Welcome back to part 4 of the I'm Taking Charge Fundamentals course. We've been learning about the results chain and we're currently going through the 3 ways to take charge of your emotional state, intervening in the results chain there at the 4th box and taking charge of the direction of that chain upward towards what we want. On the last video we looked at using your physiology. The second way to take charge of your emotional state is to change your self-talk, so what you're saying to yourself. If you're feeling the symptoms of anxiety or panic, I think it's a pretty safe bet that your self-talk isn't healthy. I find most of us with anxiety can tend to be pretty hard on ourselves. The earlier quote from Andrew Huberman, PhD, talked about starting with a thought, which is not necessarily correct. Remember, your brain will show you a threat. And then we allow our emotion system to run that thought like a boat down a stream. So it's that downward spiral of self-talk. Something pops into our heads and then we'll beat ourselves up or convince ourselves of all the reasons why we can't do something. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to take back charge of that conversation. And the way we do that is with the meaning questions that we went over on an earlier video. Does it really mean that? Could it be anything else? What am I deciding in order to feel this way? Am I going to believe that thought or will I choose something else? What do I want instead? Is there any specific action I can take? So while your emotion system wants to run your thoughts like a boat down a stream, and in many cases send that boat crashing over a huge waterfall, you've now taken charge of the boat and redirected it down a stream to where you want it to go. It's a crucial life skill, and with practice it becomes something you do automatically, looking at things in a healthier way. A certain level of anxiety is always going to be there. Your brain will continue to show you the threats. You'll learn to acknowledge what it is and let it go, refocus. Say to yourself, that's what my mind's doing. Let it go, I've got this. Your self-talk is an absolute key to taking charge of anxiety. You really must take charge of this conversation with yourself because your subconscious is listening and that is your programming going forward. As we explore in future trainings, your subconscious is a loyal servant. It's there to take care of you. And it's a very powerful resource. It just needs to be programmed in the right way. Your subconscious mind will believe and act out on what you were saying to yourself. Your life now reflects back to you the self-talk of the past. One way to think about how this relationship works between your conscious and subconscious minds is with the analogy of a CEO and a loyal employee, a personal assistant, for example. The conscious mind, you, is the CEO giving the orders. Then think of your subconscious mind as the best employee you'll ever have. It will carry out any instruction you give it. Your subconscious mind will do whatever it thinks you want it to. It just wants you to be happy and safe. You just need to put in the effort into getting the training right, clearly instructing it as to what you want. You can't be saying you want something but then telling yourself all the reasons why you shouldn't do it or how useless you are at it. That would be saying one thing but programming in something else. If you've got a speech to give or a race to run, for example, and you are constantly telling yourself that you're going to fail or that it's going to hurt, your subconscious mind is listening. You may find that your subconscious mind decides that this is a situation which needs to be avoided, and so will throw up circumstances or symptoms that provide a way out. It's hard to believe that every thought is a command, but it is. You need to be very careful what you're telling yourself. If you're continually telling yourself that you're not good enough, for example, you're programming your subconscious mind into delivering circumstances that reflect that. Another key to taking charge of your self-talk is to get familiar with those voices in your head. Have you ever had the feeling that part of you wants to do something and part of you wants to do something else? So you've got that inner conflict pulling you one way than the other. Have you ever thought about who those parts are and where do they come from? And why some of those voices can be so harsh? At World Class Friend, we take an in-depth look at who those parts are and their role, and why they cause such grief or inner conflict for so many people. All these parts have a role, but you need to take back charge of the conversation and decision-making process in your head, so you're not getting torn one way and then the other. And we'll teach you how to do that. This is a great way to think about your self-talk. An old Cherokee said to his grandson, "My son, there is a battle between two wolves inside us all. One is evil, it is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies and ego. The other is good, it is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy and truth." The boy thought about it and asked, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" The old man quietly replied, "The one you feed." Take back charge of that conversation in your head. Learn to feed the good wolf. A different life is waiting for you when you do. It's amazing the difference that statements like "let it go," "I've got this," "I can do this," "I'm excited" can make when you say them to yourself. It's a different bunch of chemicals that gets released in your body. For now, start to watch your self-talk with curiosity. Start to notice what those first thoughts are and then where you run with them. Start to question them using the meaning questions. Remember, is it a snake or is it just a hose? And then start to practice feeding the good wolf. Be kind to yourself. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. I can't stress this enough. The most important words you'll ever hear are the words you say to yourself and believe. I'll see you in the next video when we look at the third way to take charge of your emotional state, your focus. And this is another critical piece of the puzzle, something that will change your life immediately.